Hello, dear friend. Here we are. This is day 7 of Harvest of Light by Emmanuel, a book that was psychographed by Chico Xavier in 1972, and it was published in 1979 by the Brazilian Spiritist Federation. And today we're going to be studying chapter 6, which is titled In Yourself. Let us recap a little bit what we have been understanding. And I guess that's the key word. It has been since the beginning. Understanding. Emmanuel, the spirit mentor, the spirit author of this book, he shows to us in his prayer how he understands that without God, we cannot even elevate our thoughts. Because he pleads to God, please God, elevate our thoughts. You see, that's the secret of life. He is giving it to us from the first page of the book, the preface, the foreword. He is telling us that God is everything. And we're not kidding. And this is not an imposition, it's not a dogma. As Kardec said, God is the most logical conclusion we can achieve. Without God, we don't exist. I didn't create myself, you didn't create yourself, we didn't create ourselves. So a supreme intelligence, a supreme love did it for purposes that we are yet to understand. One thing we have found out, that we are here to serve and to learn and to love. Learn, love, serve. That's the pathway for us. In the first chapter of this book, we learn from Emmanuel about one natural consequence of charity, which is understanding. Once we are charitable, we understand people. We need to have this inner disposition to understand ourselves and others. Then, in a second chapter, we get to know the importance of forgiveness. Because once we start seeing things, it is hard. Because we expect higher. But you see, that's the divine in us. That inner ideal is not programmed by us. But we need to learn that everything has its time, like a fruit. It's going to be ripe enough someday to be eaten, not now. But I'm not gonna trash out that fruit because it's not ripe enough for me to eat it. The same for us and other people. Maybe we still don't have the virtues that we're aiming at. We're not gonna trash ourselves out, though many people do it, right? Many people do it. They trash themselves out. They eat poorly, they have poor habits because they do not appreciate themselves. Then in another chapter, and subsequent chapters here, chapter 3 and 4, Emmanuel talks about relationships. He talks about the importance of us being just, respecting people's rights to be whom they want to be, respecting ourselves, but opening ourselves to more, to the universal family. And yesterday when we were studying chapter 5, he talked about the search for peace, but much more than that. We discussed about it. It was deeper than that. It was about blessing the past. Did you bless your past today? In the last 24/7? Yes, did you? If you did, wonderful. Because God already did. And funny enough, we talked about blessing our past from Emmanuel's message. I found out today a message by Sister Sheila through Chico Xavier titled Bless Always. It's under translation. A friend, a dear friend, is helping us, and we're going to be able to share with you. He talks about blessing always. Wherever we do, we're blessing, we're blessing, we're blessing. And as it becomes a blessing, because God already does. Remember, co-pilot and pilot, right? So we have a pilot, God, the co-pilot, us. We need to emulate the pilot. The pilot says, bless you, and I repeat, bless them I. Bless you, and then it says, bless you are, and so on and so forth. Right? I see many friends here, adorable friends, coming along, welcome friends. You know, we're together in this opportunity to learn more. Are you ready for the lesson today? Because Emmanuel is ready. He's ready since, he has been ready since 1972, when he wrote this to us, making it immortal. This message, unless I'm mistaken, has 6 paragraphs besides the quote. And it begins by the title, In Yourself. It's a therapeutic opportunity for us. It's about us. So, Emmanuel quotes from Paul in Romans chapter 14, item 12. So that each one of us will give account of himself to God. Emmanuel then explains, you will hear a lot of people talk about understanding. Like Vanessa, no, I'm joking. Like Emmanuel himself. Every chapter he has been talking about understanding. But I won't spoil the message. Let us read it first, and then we can talk about it. You hear a lot of people talk about understanding, and maybe due to conditioned reflex, you repeat the beautiful concepts that you have heard through lectures, and that will bring you sympathy and respect. However, if you do not put the subject in the core of the soul and put yourself in the place of those who need understanding, you will know almost nothing about understanding, but the certainty that we have precious virtue in it. You will speak of patience and will mark many voices around you. However, if in the very essence of your being you have no need to suffer for a loved one, you will hardly understand about calmness and tolerance. You will exalt love, goodness, peace, and unity. But if in the depths of the spirit you do not someday feel suffering teaching you the value of the note of consolation on the pain of which you lament, the meaning of the crumb, if you do not feel the meaning of the crumb of help that others may extend to you in your days of material lack, if you do not feel the importance of someone's excuse for this or that failure you have committed, and the power of the gesture of pacification on the part of some friend who has restored harmony to you in your own experiences, you will then really ignore what is understanding and generosity, forgiveness, and inner security. Whatever difficulties in which you see yourself, refrain from carrying the burden of afflictions and questions without remedy. Enter the silence of your own soul. Listen to the thoughts that are born of your own being, and you will recognize that the solution of life will arise from yourself. Why has Emmanuel done this to us? Empowered us so much, to the point we may not believe in this much power inside of us. But is he kidding us? No. Is he joking? No. He's very serious. He knows what he's talking about, because thought is life. No matter what we hear, how many talks you listen, how many books we read, if we do not feel like applying it, it's not going to work. This lesson makes us think about one thing in psychology: blind spots. You know that physiologically, science has already defined that there is a blind spot in our vision. There is a part of our vision in which you cannot perceive. Well, there is a physiological explanation to it. And you can do exercises to expand and hopefully relieve yourself of it. Psychologically, the same happens. We have blind spots. What does that mean? We don't see ourselves exactly as we are. In a way, it's a defense mechanism, because if we could really see ourselves who we are, it would probably at this point in our evolution be unbearable. That's why many people say, no, that's too much for me. No, thank you, thank you, thank you. But if you are really interested in knowing yourself enough to the point that you overcome that blind spot or those blind spots, you may be asking, how do I do it? Well, let's go back to Kardec. In the Spirit's book, remember when he asked the spirits, how can I progress more steadily and avoid mistakes? The answer, know yourself. That's exactly what Emmanuel is telling us now. We need to find techniques to know ourselves, but do not allow the mechanisms of defense, like Freud explained, psychoanalysis. Do not allow those mechanisms of our ego state to overshadow it. Do not bash you, do not put you down, undermine you, but do not either avoid kindly seeing yourself as if you are an interior decorator entering a house to verify what needs to be done. If you don't open your eyes, you can't. If I don't open my eyes, I can't. I will enter the house and say, I think we can put a different color here, but I'm not going to be angry at the color of the wall right now just because it's not matching my expectation. I'll simply be neutral, saying, it is what it is for now. What is important is that I can change. I can make a new choice. And before I read your beautiful comments, friends, I want to share one more thing with you so we can go back to the special statements of this lesson. Emmanuel is telling us about conditionings. Some may be lifesavers, others may be anchors. They may be deterring us from actually moving forward. Some of us proudly say, I am so good at this, that's how I am. This is me, it defines me. Do not allow a mistake, a shortcoming to define you. because then you're deterring your march. Conditionings are beautiful when they push us forward. When they deter us, they become addictions. They become addictions. And we have cherished addictions for millennia. Now it's time for us to raise above it through our consciousness and change. Feeling it. Feeling it. You still may be asking how we overcome the blind spots. Hold on to that question. And let's read. Sunshine is saying, St. Augustine recommends that we do a nightly review to know ourselves better. That's beautiful. Rewind the tape as if we are transitioning back to the spiritual home, meaning dying. And I'm like, oh, I could have done this better. Do not enter the guilty trip, because that doesn't serve a purpose. Guilt is useless. It actually deters our march. So instead, I am kind and compassionate to myself. Verify that your motive usually was fear. It was ignorance, old conditionings, reactivity, instinctive tendencies. That's what Emmanuel is telling us here. He says in the first paragraph, the pair, understanding versus conditioned reflex. What is this conditioned reflex? He borrowed it from psychology, physiology, and psychology, because Pavlov was a physiologist. He was not a psychologist. He was studying a physiological mechanism, and he identified a universal mechanism that we have in several species. Conditioning. We can learn things by effort, repetition, effort, repetition, effort, repetition, effort, repetition. What does that mean? If you start repeating, trying it again and again and again, you'll get it. I'll give you a proof, huh? Remember when I said, sometimes I'm playing Virginia's video game, which is Shopkins Run. And I don't say this out of silliness, but just to say, this is life. She plays sometimes. I play on the phone. It's cute and adorable. And we were stuck in this rank 38. We had to do a specific focus, goal to achieve to pass to a new rank. For 3 weeks, we tried every other day. We tried and we tried. And I said to myself, man, I'm not going to be able to pass to a new rank. I said, Virginia, I'm so sorry. We're not going to be able to do it. But she didn't care. I was more concerned about it than she was. And I was like, how come? This is for a child, this game. How come I'm not able? And I said, if Andre Luis is right, effort and repetition really works. And sometimes I told Carlos, before I sleep, I have to try it again to see what am I missing here. And I saw, remember I mentioned to you the blind spots? I saw that there were things in that pathway that I wasn't picking up. I was doing the same old technique. I said, even if it doesn't work, I'm going to try something new. Let me go to this way or that way. Let me try this movement or that movement. And I started playing with it. And I said, and it started working. And yesterday I succeeded. We passed to a new rank. Why am I sharing this with you? Because if we keep trying and trying new things as well, new ways, expanding, we can move to a new rank in life. It's real. If I go back to neuroscience, it's super real. Because when you study the connections of the neurons, for a behavior to be displayed, manifested, I need to have specific pathways in place to make it manifest. For a pathway to be built up in our nervous system, I need to imprint that pathway, create it, build it up. When we study synaptogenesis, which is the genesis of a synapsis, we learn that it goes by molecularly. Molecules of attraction, molecules that repel each other, and does attract axons, dendrites, etc. And then creating connections. So we're talking about minute molecules that are in place little by little, forming the connections. And once the synapses is in place, we form a connection. From the connection to other connections, a pathway. From the pathway, we manifest the behavior. So Andre Lewis is right. I need effort and repetition. He talks about virtues here. He says, quoting from Paul to the Romans, we'll give account of ourselves to God. What am I doing about myself? I hear so many beautiful things, but he says, if I don't apply them in my life, what's the purpose? Right? What's the purpose? There's no purpose. So for us, he says, I will know nothing about understanding if I really do not place myself in the shoes of the people who need understanding. How do I do this? One question, I think, what if that person were me? No, not me, Vanessa. I wouldn't do that today. But what about yesterday? And what about tomorrow? We don't know ourselves to that extent. The other day, Mentor Joseph said, Vanessa, if you could see the spiritual gang that is ganging up on that person, you would feel so much compassion and understand why that person is not able to display any different. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I couldn't see this. It's beyond what the eyes can see. It's about our spiritual network. We influence one another. Sometimes we see ourselves displaying behaviors that we don't approve. We're not excusing our responsibility, but we're never alone either. So Emmanuel is telling us about our blind spots. He's telling us the blind spot when we don't see the side of other people. We need to exercise it, to see it, to verify their point of view, to see why do they behave this way, why do they do this. People are not evil for the pleasure of being evil. They are hurt. And in our disobsession meetings, we see it every Monday. Spirits who come, true persecutors, but then later we get to know of their stories, how they became who they became. And then we are so surprised. How can that be? I remember the story of a persecutor, a pedophile in the spiritual realm. And at some point, after the conversation with the counselor, he started revealing the turning point for him when he was abused time and again by people who claimed to be representatives of the Christ. And he became enraged about this Christ and the organization that actually failed him. But then, very skillfully and very inspired, counselor said, but the Christ they had in mind is not the real Christ. The real one is the one that brought you here, that wants you to be given an opportunity to heal yourself and to heal yourself deeply and stop avenging due to your hurts. And then they brought the loved one, and immediately he started crying like a child because it was his mother in a previous life. It was his mother in a previous life. Out of financial needs, she couldn't raise him up, so she gave him to the church. And into the church, being raised into the church, he was abused. And he started, instead of loving the Christ consciousness, he started hating it and became a pedophile himself. And he continued in the afterlife. There is so much hurt when people experience that we need to understand. We're not saying that we should keep them, if they are incarnated, free. No, we're not discussing this. We're talking about understanding how people become who they become, how we become who we become. Why are you not like me, and why am I not like you? We have history. And that explains. So he's talking first about understanding, then he talks about patience. And if patience is hard to understand, he summarizes in one sentence. If in the very essence of your being you have no need to suffer for a loved one, you will hardly understand about patience, calmness, and tolerance. So patience means it hurts because you have to wait. And there's a child's book, Piggy and Gerald, that says exactly this. Waiting is not easy. Patience is not easy. But it's priceless. Read the book, Renunciation, by Emmanuel, and we're going to learn about it. If you do not know how to suffer for a loved one, and suffer doesn't mean being abused, it means waiting for their blossoming. Like a gardener who is cultivating a beautiful plant, a flower, waiting patiently. If they do not have patience, they cannot be gardeners. They cannot work in agriculture. Can you? That's a good way to train patience. Cultivate flowers, plants, especially those that, plants that give flowers, trees, and it takes time. You work with it, you cultivate it, and you will wait, and you will wait. Right, friends? And he says, when I experience suffering, do you value the consolation that you receive? Do you value the material help that people give when you're in need? Do you value people's forgiveness towards your imperfections? Do you value the gesture of pacification when you're in trouble in a particular situation? Blessed are the peacemakers. If you don't, he says, you ignore understanding, generosity, forgiveness, and inner security. So he says, if you're searching for the solution to your problems, remember they are inside of you, inside of us. How come? I am a child of God. You have a direct connection with God. Umbilical connection. Does that mean you're not going to need friends? Does that mean you're not going to need therapy? Does that mean you're not going to need books? No. That means that you will go home and sum up the equation from a lecture, plus, from a book, plus, from an experience, plus, from a friend, equal, you're going to write the result. You are going to come up with a conclusion. For that, we need to relieve ourselves from the blind spots. There are many techniques, but one of them is to expose ourselves to the new. That's why it's important to listen to people. Observe. As Kardec says in the Medium's book, observe the facts, analyze the language. The practice of silence. Bottom line, Emmanuel, in a very Eastern way, and I say this, mentioning meditation, he says, enter the silence of your own soul. How can you enter the silence of your own soul if you don't meditate? No, we're talking about meditation. We're talking about quieting down, listening within. But Vanessa, I'm so afraid. What if a spirit comes and shouts at me? What if something crazy happens? I don't feel safe. I understand you. So pray before you meditate. Pray. Pray before you meditate. Visualize your guardian angel and say, please help me do this inner journey. I know I'm not alone. Enter the silence of your soul. Listen to the thoughts that are born in your being. That's a method of self-analysis. Without meditation, we cannot progress. And neuroscience already proves to us that when you meditate, what do you gain the most? Can I tell you? Besides many things, you gain new connections in your prefrontal cortex. If you have an optimal prefrontal cortex, you can tame your instinctive tendencies. So when I meditate, I quiet down. You want to try together? Can I? Exactly, Wagner Jr. Blessed are the peacemakers. Can we try? Try it together, okay? If you're driving, you're listening to this, watching this, don't close your eyes. Just listen. But let's do this, huh? Close your eyes for a second, please. Breathe in and out. Listen to your breathing. keep listening to your breathing and see what happens next. Let's stay like this for a minute. Did you see? Have you observed it? Come back. This is just a short, super short exercise. Did you observe it? It pops up. The very things you need, they surface. Did you listen? It's right there. And you may ask, but Vanessa, where does that come from? Well, you are not alone. And you know it. You're not alone. The guardian angels are always with you. They take every good intention as an opportunity to help. And they're going to whisper exactly what you're looking for. Try it. 5 minutes a day. Oh, 5 minutes too much. A minute. Use your phone as a stopwatch. As an alarm. There are apps that can help you in that regard. But do it every day. And you know why it's important? Because physically, we need a break during the day before we go to sleep. Some people, they don't stop. They're active the whole day. And when they stop, boom. So instead of doing that, remember, you're not the physical body. I'm not the physical body. Give yourself as spirit a break. Say body, like Professor Dipts Barsanulfo used to do. Stop and say body, stay there. Take a little nap. Free yourself. 5-10 minutes. At Kardec Radio, we have the link on the virtual passes. 10 minutes or less. You quiet down. Listen to that. That's a beginning. And when you are ready, nothing else but that inner. You can say a prayer to feel protected. And quiet down. And you mark it down. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, until you can expand. You know, some people think that meditating the whole day is great. Well, there are days in which you need to meditate the whole day, if you can, if you don't have children, or you don't have to work, nothing else to do, if you're sick. Some people are like, but I'm sick, I can't do anything. Well, maybe God is asking us to stop and maintenance, inner maintenance, right? Wagner Jr. is mentioning things and thoughts come up to my mind when I meditate. Exactly. Bless them. Don't be afraid. They are passing by, as in a movie. And even if emotions surface, breathe in and out and calm your physiology down. Tell your body, tell the cells of your body, everything is okay. We're safe. I'm connected to you molecule by molecule. You're safe. God is connected to us. We're just co-piloting. So it's fine. And then we do exactly what Emmanuel says. Enter the silence of your own soul. Listen to the thoughts that are born of your own being. That's how we're going to heal the blind spots. In that state of the mind, the ego can rarely take place. Our true self surfaces, and that's when we can conquer ourselves. Effort and repetition. Exactly. Wagner Jr. is mentioning, I will bless these thoughts when I meditate. Patricia is saying, yes, exactly, right? And you recognize that the solution of life will arise from yourself. From ourselves. Don't you feel empowered? I do. Do you? Yes. The teacher, Emmanuel, is coaching us to this inner empowerment. He is. And he's telling us, it's in you, the solution. It's not in the physician that you're going to meet. It's not going to be in the surgery you're going to encounter. It's not going to be in the conversation with somebody. Only those are helpers. But it is in us, the solution. How do we know? Look at Jesus and Judas. Jesus was there with Judas. But it took Judas' inner movement to raise above and become the beautiful spirit that he already is, that she is, Joan of Arc. Thanks to her. Friends stayed there, and centuries later, Kardec could come and bring us the codification of Spiritism. You see? That's beautiful, isn't it, friends? So this is the message of Emmanuel tonight, empowering us to rid ourselves of the blind spots and practice this inner silence daily. Okay, so in the next 24 hours, let us practice this inner silence. Enter this silence, even if it is for a minute, even if it is in the bathroom, as we go to sleep, in the office, anywhere. Breathing in and out and listening, trusting that you're safe. Paulo Andrade is saying, I think I read that meditation usually works better depending of our the medication, right? Depending of our state of the mind. Exactly. It's law of attraction. It's actually, Paulo Andrade, I remember in the book Evolution into Worlds, when André Luiz talks about how we can attract the benefits of the medication by opening ourselves up to it. Right? What happens when we come tomorrow? What happens? Emmanuel is always surprising. In the next chapter, he's going to talk about several messages to nourish ourselves. One of them, and I'll read to you as a teaser, he says, expose the concepts that you embrace with dignity. However, create as much as possible the habit of prayer, searching for inspiration from the higher planes. There is always something new. There's always room for improvement. Who wants to know more, feel more, love more, serve more? I do. You do too. I know. That's why we're here at 11 p.m. We want to learn more, and I can say to God, God, I would like more lessons, right, Karina Alice? Right, Wagner Jr., let me say hi to Aiden. How are you, Aiden? Patrícia, Wagner Jr., Raquel Bakeshi, Marisa de Mello, how are you? Auri Alves, how are you? beautiful sunshine. Dulce, you feel blessed and we feel blessed to be with you. Renata Casadei, how are you? Escolinha do Chico, how are you? That's great, Joyce. Big hug to you. The new baby, little Daniel, our Marco, my dear Aline. What a blessing to have you here. Angelita, how are you, beautiful Angelita? Rihanna, beautiful Rihanna, love your haircut. I have to say it. It's very inspiring. It's beautiful, and I love your picture with Angelita. We're so happy that we're closer to you, Rihanna, through Angelita and the Fraternity Without Borders. What a beautiful program. New life to those who suffer. Iva Ribeiro, Sol Souza, and our beautiful Luana, right? Amanda Andrade, Andrea Torres, Paula, beautiful Paula. You know, Paula is a chef. She's more than that, but in our center, I have to say, she is really, really the cook. Valéria Benfica, big hug to you. Lu Saboia, how are you? Adilson. And, you know, I have to say, today, the Inner Enlightenment Spiritist Society celebrated 11 years. Happy birthday. We're very happy. The SSVA also turned 11 in June, and I know the Mount Vernon Center is turning 11. And so many centers around the world turning many years and more to come. Many more light houses. Marcelo Cabral is with us. What a joy. Thank you, friends. And Emmanuel tomorrow is going to reveal to us that there's so much for us to nourish ourselves, and to nourish ourselves more, it takes Kardec Radio to release to you more about nourishment. Tomorrow, here at 11 p.m., God willing, we will be back so Emmanuel can lead us into new realizations, new feelings, new thoughts, then new life. Big hug. Thank you, Valeria. Thank you, friends. Thank you, Rihanna. See you soon.